What's up, everyone? Welcome into another episode of Instant Reaction here on the Colts Audio Network and on YouTube. I'm JJ Stankovitz, joined every week by Colts Ring of Honor wide receiver Bill Brooks to break down the Colts' latest game. Bill, the Colts lose 37 to 34 on Sunday at Everbank Stadium in Jacksonville. The Colts have now lost 10 games in a row on the road to the Jacksonville Jaguars. A weird game with 41 points in the fourth quarter, but a game, Bill, that to me ultimately is defined by the Colts' shortcomings on defense, allowing those 34 points in this game.
Yeah, I mean, the defense not kind of living up to their bargain in regards to trying to stop Jacksonville Jaguars. And when you give up 497 yards total offense to an opposing team, that's very hard to come back from. And Jacksonville Jaguars did a nice job of just moving the ball down the field and getting some big plays. And when you give up those many big plays in a game, it makes it very difficult to win football games. I don't care who you are and what your offense does. I mean, you give up a big play, you give up a 85-yard touchdown to Brian Thomas, you give up a big 61-yard pass to Christian Kirk, who that sets up a touchdown later on in the game. And then Bigsby has a 65-yard run from just a defensive standpoint. And also they had the punt return for about 60 plus yards from Duvernay. So 50 plus yards, I'm sorry, from Duvernay. But when you give that many big plays, it makes it very difficult for you as an offense to, I mean, you as a defense to stop a team. They have confidence and they came in the game not playing very well as far as the Jacksonville Jaguars offense. And they got some confidence against the Colts defense. They made some big plays. They go down and score. And they looked like they were going to be comfortable playing against the defense. And you know what? The Colts defense just not did not make enough plays. There were some missed tackles, also it was like some miscommunication in regards to people in coverage there, and that was not good. And going into your fifth game of the season, even though they have some backups in there, you still shouldn't have that miscommunication out there on the defense. So hopefully they can clean that up and get better as the season goes on.
Yeah, a lot to dig into with the Colts defense in this game. I think I want to start, Bill, with what Zaire Franklin said in the locker room after the game. He said, quote, "Defense, we got to do our part. We didn't do our part today. That's the moral of the story." He also said the tackling in this game was, quote, "atrocious." And the numbers bear that out. The eye test bears that all out, that the Colts defense did not hold up their end of the bargain today. Where, like you mentioned, Bill, the Colts allow those three plays of 60 or more yards. That 85-yard touchdown Brian Thomas Jr. had was the longest completion the Colts have allowed since Tom Brady hit David Patton for a 91-yard reception in 2001. So it's been quite some time since we've seen a play like that against the Colts defense. But more than anything, Bill, to me, this game felt like Trevor Lawrence was completely in command of the
Yes.
Jaguars offense in a way that he had not been all year. Going into this game, Trevor Lawrence completion percentages in the first four games of the season with the Jags losing all four were at 57.1%, 46.7%, 55.3%, and 54.5%. Today, Trevor Lawrence goes out there. He completes 82.4% of his passes for 371 yards. And Bill, for me, the biggest issue here is that Trevor Lawrence was neither sacked nor hit in this game. That's the second time this season the Colts have had a game in which they have had neither a sack nor a quarterback hit. The other one was week two, the loss to the Green Bay Packers. And I know you're talking about Taekwon Lewis, Kwity Paye, and Samson Ebukam and DeForest Buckner all being out on that Colts defensive line, but it's really hard to win a game when the quarterback's jersey doesn't get dirty at all, over the course of 60 minutes.
Yeah, it makes it very difficult. And the quarterback never felt any pressure. I mean, he didn't feel rushed to get a pass off. He didn't feel like he had to move out of the pocket because there was no pressure on him. And you have to get in a quarterback like Trevor Lawrence, you definitely have to keep him in the well, so to speak, but you also have to get pressure on the young man because if you give him time, you know what, he's gonna kill you. And yes, we did get an interception in the game, but at the beginning of the game, he just was taking what the Colts were giving him, and he was just kind of getting the ball out to the backs, short passes to tight end, and they were just moving the ball down the field. And he didn't feel any pressure. And then when he got comfortable, he hit the long pass to Brian Thomas, and that was a big 85-yard play. There was another play to Christian Kirk that was for 60 plus yards. So you have to get pressure on quarterbacks if you want to make sure that you can get some more turnovers and get him frustrated. So he'll throw some incomplete passes, or he'll throw some passes in the dirt, or just take a sack. So the Colts did not do that from a defensive standpoint as far as getting pressure on Trevor Lawrence. And Trevor, he hasn't played up to his standard this year thus far, but you still know that he is a good quarterback and he can make those plays. And he showed today that he still can make those plays.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence coming into this game when he was under pressure, he was 15 to 34 for 131 yards on the season. So that's where a lot of his incompletions were coming from. Bill was when he was under pressure, he was struggling to complete passes, whether it was short, intermediate, deep, whatever it may be. And the Colts today, I mean, again, I know we're talking about a depleted defensive line. Not getting that pressure on him, I think it put a lot of pressure then on the secondary,
Yes.
which, like you said, Bill, they had some errors, some communication errors in the back end that led to some of those big plays. But this team is built on getting pressure up front. And this is not a Colts team that's designed to win on defense when they're getting just one total pressure. That's what Pro Football Focus had in this game. The PFF, and this is Sunday night, it could be updated into Monday, but they had Laiatu Latu had one pressure, and that was it for the Colts defense today. So that's kind of a starting point. The other one is Tank Bigsby, the Jaguars running back. According to Pro Football Focus, he forced 10 missed tackles in this game. That's another number that for a defense that takes pride in its tackling, that's another one that you could tell really kind of stuck with some players after this game.
Yeah, I know. I know one of the runs in which he scored a touchdown. He just ran over a couple of guys.
That was the 18
Uh,
yarder. Yeah.
yeah, he ran over a couple of guys, but yeah, he made some people miss. And you know what? You want to be if you're going to be a good defense and put teams so-called in a hole, and you want to stop them, you want to make some big plays. You're going to have to make some tackles. You're just going to have to make tackles. And it was kind of uncharacteristic to see as many
Yeah.
missed tackles out there today with certain people, certain players out there. I know EJ Speed missed a tackle. I saw Nick Cross miss a tackle. Two guys that are leading the league in tackling
Mhm.
missed some tackles. So you know what? Unfortunately, it happens sometimes. But when you're in a crucial game like that, you don't want to have those missed tackles. So I'm sure those guys will watch film, learn from it, correct the mistakes they've made, and get back at it. But they have to go out there and tackle. That's just part, that's the bottom line. That's just football. I mean, football comes to pretty much blocking, running, tackling, passing the ball, catching the ball. Very few simple things that you need to do in football and hopefully to do well so you can be successful.
The Jaguars had 497 yards of total offense today. Bill, 279 of those came on six explosive plays in this game. Those are runs of 10 or more yards or passes of 15 or more yards. The Jaguars had six. They averaged 49 and a half yards on those plays. And that, again, like you mentioned, Bill, you're talking about the 85-yarder to Thomas, the 61-yarder to Kirk, and then the 65-yard touchdown run that Tank Bigsby had. And those plays are killers. You know, the Colts, for the first time all year, Bill, they won the time of possession battle. They held the
Yes.
Jaguars to 4 of 12 on third and fourth down in this game. And all of that was just erased by the explosive plays that this defense allowed, whether it was, and this is one where you can't like silo off one group, right?
No.
Like it was the pass rush not getting home, it was the back end of the defense having some communication errors, and it was the guys who you trust to make those tackles who I think will make those tackles this season missing, ETN out in the open field or
Yes.
missing Tank Bigsby on one of those, the 18-yard touchdown run. Just stuff that is the kind of stuff that when you give up 37 points, you're going to have a lot of these issues. The one other thing, Bill, the Colts won the turnover battle in this game. I think if you
Yeah.
came into this game and said, "Hey, you're going to win the turnover battle and the time of possession battle," you'd say, "I think the losing streak's going to come to an end," but that's not how it played out today.
No, I mean, especially a turnover battle. You definitely think if you win a turnover battle, you have a real good shot at winning the football game, but that didn't happen for the Colts. But it just shows you how important it is for each level on the defense as far as the defensive line, the linebackers, and the secondary to play together, and they go hand in hand. The guys up front have to get pressure on the quarterback to force the quarterback to make errant throws. The guys at in the middle level, they have to make the tackles. The guys in the back end have to play good defense and break up some passes and hopefully get some interceptions. So it's very important that the guys play together, and that's the important thing about football. The defense, those guys have to play together. And then when the defense is playing well, you want to play complementary football. So then the offense plays well, and then the special teams they do their part. So it's very important that these guys come together and improve on the things that they need to improve on and correct the mistakes they made today, especially from a defensive standpoint, as far as tackling and getting pressure on the quarterback, so they can be successful out there in the football field and they can get off the football field. Yes, the Colts won the time of possession battle today, which is good. And that's what you want. But it probably could be a little bit better if the Colts defense could have gotten off the field and gotten the ball back to the offense.
The last thing here on the defense is I do want to, like Zaire Franklin said, it's not an excuse that we're missing all these guys. That, if you're in this locker room, if you're on the field, you're here for a reason and you're expected to do your job. But I want to give the Colts just a little bit of grace here in that missing three defensive ends, like three guys who, if you started week one of the season with all those guys healthy, it's Samson Ebukam and Kwity Paye. And then Taekwon Lewis is the first guy off the bench. And then you're rotating in Laiatu Latu and Dio Dangbo there. Missing Kwity Paye, Taekwon Lewis, and Samson Ebukam really depleted this Colts defensive line. And then that's not even to mention not having DeForest Buckner in there, who's your all-pro defensive tackle. So those guys, baseline, you're missing four defensive linemen who are all really good football players. And
Yes.
then you're missing Kenny Moore the second in
Mm.
the slot. That is always going to be something that's going to be difficult to overcome. Kenny is one of the best slot corners in the NFL, if not the best. We know that it's a really tough thing when you're looking around and it's a lot of guys who are depth pieces, guys who are on the practice squad to start the year, who are coming up and having to play and giving it their all, but this is not the defense the Colts envisioned. This personnel is not the defense the Colts envisioned. You got to overcome it. You got to find ways to overcome it because the Jaguars don't care. The Titans don't care next week. But ultimately, I think there was just a little bit of grace, a little bit of perspective that you give up 37 to a team that was 0-4, but you do it while you're really, really depleted on that side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, the Colts are depleted on that side of the ball. If we look at the players they had out, like you said, DeForest Buckner, Samson Ebukam, you had Kwity Paye out, Kenny Moore. So you have those guys out, Juju Brents not playing out there. So you're missing those guys. You know that, yes, that does deplete your defense, but it gives the opportunity for the next guy to step up. And next guy has to step up. And I give a lot of credit to Zaire saying that it's no excuse. We have to go out there and play. There are other teams that are going through the same situation. I'm sure Jacksonville would say, "Hey, look, we wish we had Ingram out
Hmm.
there playing. He didn't play today." So, there's guys out there. They wish they probably had Tyson Campbell out there today. They didn't. He wasn't available to play. So there are players on every team that's injured and not being able to play. But what it does do is we talk about depth. And those guys that are backups, those guys that have an opportunity to go out there and play and step up and show that they can play and make big plays in this league, need to step up. They need to make plays out there. So hopefully those guys will continue to do it. They did it against the Pittsburgh Steelers, so we know they can do it. It's just a matter of them doing it and doing it on a consistent basis.
All right, so let's talk about the Colts offense now that almost won this game, despite the defense having all the issues they did on that side of the
Yes.
ball. It's 34-20 with about 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And it takes the Colts 5 plays, Bill, 5 plays on offense to tie the game. One of the most remarkable stretches of football I think I've ever seen from an offense. Just on you get the deep ball, the first one to Alec, not even the deep
Yes.
ball, the 24-yarder where Alec kind of like volleyball sets it to himself to
Yes.
catch it.
Hmm.
Great play, by the way. Alec Pierce, big volleyball guy, so not no
Yes.
surprise there.
Hmm.
And then the deep ball to Pierce that he nearly takes in for a touchdown. Trey Sermon punches it in one play later. So that gets it to 34 to 27. The Jags go three and out. This is the Colts' best defensive stand of the game. You get a breakup from Jalen Jones, and then Sam Womack the third, who, by the way, that dude's playing good football. Like Sam
Very,
Womack's
very
playing
good
some good
football.
football.
Hmm.
He breaks up a 3rd and 8 pass. So the Jags go three and out. They punt it, and the Colts just immediately they get the Quentin Nelson gets called for a false start. So it's 1st and 15. They hand it off to Trey Sermon against a light box. Awesome play call, great execution. Sermon goes for 17, and then that's the 65-yarder that Flacco throws to Alec Pierce. And bam, right there, the game's tied. That sequence right there of Flacco and Alec Pierce, like that Bill, just like from a football standpoint, that was remarkable that this offense wasn't able to get anything really explosive all game, and then all of a sudden they find the solutions right when they need them. Alec Pierce goes off. Flacco nearly leads the Colts back. It ultimately ends in a loss, but like Joe Flacco said after the game, this kind of felt like a game that whoever finishes with the ball is going to win. And in that case right there, that right there is why I think like when the Colts made the move to sign Joe Flacco, it's obviously he's got 17 years of experience. He's a veteran. He can help Anthony Richardson out that way. But the guy's got a cannon for an arm, and he knows what to do with the football and where to go with it. It's like that 5 play stretch right there is like that's why you prioritize signing Joe Flacco
Yes.
to be your backup quarterback in the offseason.
Yes, you want a guy like Joe Flacco as a backup on your team, even though he probably thinks he should be starting somewhere in the National Football League. But to have him on your team, you know that when he does get in the game, or if he does get in the game, you are going to feel comfortable with him running the offense. You know he's going to execute the offense. He's going to be efficient. He's going to take what the defense gives him, and he's going to get the ball into the playmakers' hands, and they're going to make plays down the field. So that's what Joe Flacco did. As you said, he has the arm to get the ball out there. We saw that. The balls he threw to Alec. Alec making nice catches out there. And I really like the catch where he tapped the ball to himself, the volleyball style catch that he had. And then not just that, but just holding on to it when he hits the ground. So nice play by Alec. Big plays. Targeted 3 times, makes big catches on those targets, and was successful on those targets. So that was big by Alec, and kudos to Alec as well. Not being targeted the whole game,
Hmm.
not getting many passes, but staying with it. And to me, that's what a pro does. You stay with it. You might not get targeted that much during the game, but when you do, to take advantage of that opportunity. And that's what Alec did. And, Joe Flacco put the ball out there to where he can catch it. And to me, that showed, as far as from an offensive standpoint, they always believed in themselves that, hey, look, if we have the opportunity, we can get back into this game. We need to get back into this game. And they did. They able to tie it up and, have a chance to win the game there. But unfortunately, it didn't happen. But give the offense some credit for moving the ball down the field, making some big plays in a short time span, and tying the game up.
What Alec Pierce is doing right now, Bill, by the way, it's not a fluke. This is
No.
this is legit. I'm going to read you off now. There are 8 players who have had 3 games where they've had 100 yards on 3 or fewer receptions. Here are those players since 2000: Deshaun Jackson, Mike Wallace, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Gabe Davis, AJ Green, Devery Henderson, Greg Jennings, Alec Pierce. That's like a who's who of your vertical deep ball threats over the last like 15, 20 years right there. You don't make that list by accident. You don't make that list because you're not a real NFL player. You make that list because you are a really freaking good threat down the field. And what we're seeing from Alec Pierce right now, it's the speed that he has, it's the physicality he has, and it's the ability to win downfield, whether it's a 50-50 ball or a go route that he just runs right by someone, he splits a safety, runs right by a corner. This is real from Alec Pierce. He entered the game averaging 23.4 yards per reception, and that went up
Yes,
today.
it went up. It didn't go down. Usually, a average like that will eventually go down probably the next game. But Not today with Alec. He's done a nice job. To me, when he got into camp this year and watching him in camp and how he was carrying himself, how he's going about his business, he looked like he was on a mission, but he looked like a player that had confidence in what he was doing out there in the football field. And that goes a long ways. When you have confidence in what you're doing and understanding what the offense is asking you to do, and you can go out there and execute those plays and you see that you're being successful out there in the football field, that gives you a lot of confidence. And to me, that's just carried over to the game situations where he's making these big plays and he looks very comfortable doing it. And that's what I like about Alec. He's worked at it. He's worked all training camp. He looked like he was on a mission. And, right now, all his work is paying off. And I just hope he continues to do it and continues to work at it and even get better at his craft as he moves on throughout the season.
So Joe Flacco finishes the day 33 of 44, 75% for 359 yards with three touchdowns, no interceptions, 121.3 passer rating. Edie Mitchell gets in there too with a
Mhm.
24-yard pass completion. He's only the third wide receiver in Colts history to complete a pass.
And
Fun play there.
JJ,
Yep.
that was a tight spiral that he
Yeah.
threw. I mean,
Yeah.
that was a tight spiral. I was very impressed on how he threw that ball.
You see Quentin Nelson on that play?
No, I didn't see Quentin
Quentin
Q.
Nelson, so there was that highlight from a couple weeks ago where Q kind of very gently just blocks the defender who's kind of on the blind side of a play. Like, I'm not getting flagged for this. And it was like,
Mhm.
it went around like football. I think it was against the Packers. It went around like NFL social media is like the
Yes,
nicest block in the NFL. There was
yes.
nothing nice about the block Quentin Nelson put on Andre Cisco on that play. It was get out of this play. And then he finishes it by by pancaking this poor safety on the play, but that sprung it to be a
Right.
successful 24-yard completion. Um, that play though was really one of the only explosive plays the Colts had in it was I looked at it from the second through the seventh possession of this game. The Colts did hit a bit of a lull after they started with a great first drive. Joe Flacco was perfect to open the game, finishes it with a 1 yard touchdown to Michael Pittman Jr. He's peppering Josh Downs on that first drive that the Colts get to go up 7-0. But after that, the Jaguars did a really nice job playing a lot of shell coverage. So you're taking away the deep stuff to Pierce. And then they were playing really well up front, taking away running lanes for Trey Sermon and Tyler Goodson, who in this game they combined for 15 carries for 64 yards. So it's a
Hmm.
little over, what is that, about four-ish yards per
Four,
carry.
just a little
But
about, I think, with 4.1, something like
yeah,
that.
more than
Mhm.
half of those yards, though, did come on two 17-yard carries each of those guys had.
Okay.
So not maybe the most efficient day for the Colts out of the backfield, but I like that they're trying some stuff, they're trying to find a way through it, and eventually Flacco just kind of took over in terms of knowing where to go with the football, hitting those explosives. But that lull in the middle of the game, Flacco and Shane Steichen talked about it, Bill, that they felt like they left some stuff out there that could have in a 3-point game that could have maybe swung it and taken some of the heat off of the Colts defense in this game.
Yeah, a lot of times when you look back at games and you kind of think about the plays that you've had and the plays that you've missed or wasn't as successful as you thought you should have been, you're always going to say that, there's a couple plays out there that we left, a couple of yards that we left out there in the football field. And that's going to happen in the National Football League. This is a very tough league to win and be successful at every single play out there that you have. So, you know what, they'll get it back. They'll have an opportunity, hopefully, moving forward to correct the mistakes and hopefully have an opportunity to get it. But with that lull, that hurt them as far as maybe if they just have maybe one of those drives that they can get some points out of it and just move the ball down the field. Makes a little, make you feel a little bit better, or maybe they move the ball down the field, eat up some clock, kind of take the ball away from the Jacksonville Jaguars, and you can go down there and kick a field goal or kick two field goals. It does something for yourself and it kind of demoralizes the other team. So hopefully that, they won't have as many of those lulls in this season or in the next couple of games. I shouldn't say in the season, but in the game that they can hopefully capitalize on those drives and make something happen and get some points.
The Colts did have two drives that reached the red zone that they had to settle for field goals on. There was one in the second quarter. That was the one where they had the Mitchell pass on it. That got down to the Jacksonville 12 before the Colts had to settle for a field goal. And then one in the
Hmm.
fourth quarter that got down just inside the red zone. That was another Matt Gay field goal right there. Those are the kind of things that, again, in a close game, you swing one of those. Maybe you don't have the Flacco strip sack toward the end of the first half that that was another turning point in this game. When you kind of look back on it, you get the Jalen Jones punch out, which is an awesome play.
Great play by
And
Jalen Jones.
then you're thinking, all right, well, maybe we can try to pop 3 points out of this after Jacksonville looked like they were going to get it. Flacco gets the ball knocked out by Trayvon Walker. I think it was Trayvon. It was either Trayvon or Josh Hines Allen. Trayvon Walker had a really good game,
Yeah,
by
he
the way.
had a good game. It was
Really
a
impressive day
real
from
good
him.
game. Yeah. Hmm.
Ball gets popped out. Hines Allen is the one who recovered it, so it was Trayvon Walker who
Yeah.
forced it. And then Jacksonville gets the field goal late. Um, Again, in a game that's a close loss, Bill, like you probably have experienced this as a player, like you're on that plane going back home or you're driving back after a home game and you're just thinking about the plays that you missed instead of the plays that you hit in that game.
Yeah, yeah, it's always the what if. You play that what if game on the flight back home on away games, and it's like I said, if you're driving in your car back home or whatever it is, you play that what if game. What if we had did X instead of Y? What if we had did this? If I had caught this pass, or what if I had made this block? And that's what you don't want to do after a game because that means usually you've lost the game, but you know what? They should play that what if game because maybe, as they look at it and say, okay, what if I did this? Or how can I do this better? So I won't have to ask this what if. If I do this better, or I make this play, then I won't have to ask this what if we have done this or what if I have done this. So each player has to kind of at themselves and see where they can get better. And then hopefully, eventually, as the season goes on, they don't have to ask themselves what if. But now in a game like this, they have to ask what if because it makes a big difference. And this is the second loss in the AFC South. Next week's going to be a big game. I think you're playing the Tennessee Titans on the road, and you definitely don't want to go 0-3 in AFC South for your first three AFC South games during this season. So it's going to be a big game next week for the Colts as they travel down to Tennessee.
Yeah, the Colts are 0-2 in the AFC South. They have not been over 500 in the AFC South since 2020. That was the last time they made the
Wow.
playoffs, probably not coincidentally. So yeah, I mean that's next week is a really, really important game for this
Hmm.
team to get back to 500 to start climbing your way out of the AFC South, out of a little hole that you've got there. We'll see about Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor for next week. I thought just baseline though, Bill, that the Colts put up 34 points without Richardson, without Taylor, without Ryan Kelly, and then I would be remiss if I didn't mention Will Fries, who
Ah.
sustained, I mean, just
Yeah.
awful, like
Yeah.
awful injury. Shane Steichen said it was a tibia. So Will Fries is still in Jacksonville. He's having to have a procedure tonight, Sunday, to correct to he needs the procedure basically, and is
Yes.
going to have to stay at least overnight in Jacksonville. Um, Will Fries is playing such good football, like high level Pro Bowl caliber football at right guard. And Quentin Nelson after the game, Lara Overton, our colleague, had a chance to catch up with him, and she asked him about Will Fries, and Q was really emotional about it. Q, you can go watch the video on Colts.com, but um, it was tough. You can tell how tough that one was for this team. I mean, the entire team went over to Will Fries and gave him a fist bump, said some words of encouragement. There's not like a better dude on this team than Will Fries, by the way. The guy works his butt off. He is physical. He's mean on the football field. He finishes plays. That dude was playing like one of the best, if not the best, right guard in the NFL when he got hurt. And that sucks. That sucks for him. That sucks for the Colts. Um, That's gonna be one to, the Colts have depth there. Dalton Tucker stepped in and filled in admirably today.
Yes.
Um, but I would be remiss, Bill, if I didn't kind of just say like Will
Oh,
Fries is such a good football player, and that one hurts. That one hurts the team, and obviously it really really sucks for Will.
yeah, definitely. Will is a good football player, but the reaction you saw from the guys by being on the field and what they've said about Will Fry show what type of person he is and how the guys feel about him as a person and as their teammate. You saw it on their faces. They were sad, standing out there watching Will get in the cart. So I feel for the young man. My prayers go out to him. Hopefully that, speedy recovery, not just to get back on the football field, but to be healed and to be back to being able to do the things that he wants to do in life. So hopefully, everything goes well with the procedure and he's back. But it was tough. It was tough to see him get carted off the field like that and see the guys' faces as he was carted off the field. So I know the guys are pulling for him and supporting him. And just shows you how close, especially that offensive line is, and how close this team is by what you saw there on the football field, the guys standing around him and giving him support as he went off the field.
Yeah. Well, we'll have plenty to dig into here on the Colts Audio Network this week as we digest this loss to the Jaguars and start looking ahead to the Tennessee Titans. We'll have plenty of updates on Anthony Richardson and on Jonathan Taylor, what their status could be for week 6 in Tennessee. Bill and I will be back Sunday night next week after the Colts play the Titans down in Nashville. Hopefully, they don't take the goalpost and throw them in the river like Vanderbilt did. Uh, bit of a
Uh,
shorter commute for those folks
yes.
to the river if they were to do that though. Shout out to the Vanderbilt students for bringing those goalposts all the way down if they after they beat
Yes.
Alabama. Anyways, Bill and I will be back next Sunday night after the Colts play the Tennessee Titans. Stick with us again here on the Colts Audio Network and on YouTube and on Colts.com for all your news, analysis, and breakdowns before, during, and after Sunday's game against the Titans. For Bill Brooks, I'm JJ Stankovitz. Again, we'll talk to you next week after the Colts face the Tennessee Titans. So long.